Well, is heat 13 going to be unlucky for somebody? On the inside grid, it is Scott Woodward, partnered by Kevin Nutting on 3. Darren Tarr for Poole on 2, and his partner John Weston on the outside grid. Well, and Scott Woodward's been gated round by Darren Tarr there, and that mistake by Scott Woodward has allowed John Weston to come up through as well now. And down falls Kevin Nutting, and Scott Woodward now takes up the challenge of John Weston, and he falls very hard indeed there in that pursuit of John Weston, and the race hasn't been stopped, but he really does look in some pain, does Scott Woodward, and he's holding his, he's got his face covered by his hands, and I'm sure he also hurt his wrist and arm as he almost put them in his back wheel there. I must say the race continues whilst the rider is lying on the track, and he's certainly not going to get up in any great hurry, but Darren Tarr wins that race from John Weston. And in third, picking himself up, Kevin Nutting. So a 7-2 heat win to Poole. I'm afraid the result stands at that, and that's 69 points now to Poole, and they extend their lead to Wednesfield's 58, 11 points now in it. But meanwhile, all the attention being focused upon Scott Woodward's injuries there on the second bend. And St John Ambulance Brigade have rushed across, and things don't look too good at all there. I have feedback that he has cracked some ribs, or it appears that he's cracked some ribs, and they're unable to move him at the moment. So yes, indeed, an ambulance is going to have to be called. So there will be a temporary break in the racing here at Sandwell Cycle Speedway Club, whilst Scott Woodward awaits an ambulance. And very anxious Paul Bodley coming across to have a look at the condition of his rider, and there's some alright fans on the fence earlier on saying that the race should have been stopped, and it was a bit dangerous. Of course, racing is a little bit dangerous on this circuit, a very tight circuit, and if one rider does come underneath another one, then they have to make a little bit of contact, and that rider on the outside has nowhere else to go but in the fence. But it must be said that Scott Woodward, this time, it wasn't the fence that probably caused his injuries, more so the fact that he put his wrist into his wheels, and he probably had a few grazes there. And here comes the ambulance now. Gates open to allow the ambulance straight onto the track without further ado, and we'll get Scott into safe hands, the safe hands of the hospital. Again, it must be said, in Cycle Speedway, it's a rare sight for an ambulance to be called. Injuries aren't that great, and they're very few and far between, thank goodness. But of course, on this circuit, there is a tendency to think that injuries are going to come by just a little bit more of a possibility. Ambulance driver gets out of his cab, and already the stretcher has been taken over to Scott, and he still hasn't got up, so obviously things are a little bit more serious than first anticipated. In fact, the referee might well take a little bit of stick from the crowd, as he didn't stop that race. Of course, we can't stop every race. Referees have to play it by ear, very much so, and as the race was entering its third lap, the referee obviously thought that there was no need for that race to be stopped. And of course, Scott was found himself right on the outside of the track anyway, so a couple of things to bear in mind there for refereeing courses. Well, they've got the stretcher out now, and I'm sure it'll only be a matter of moments before Scott is delicately placed on that stretcher and is taken off to hospital. Anxious moments these for Cycle Speedway. We don't want any serious injuries to happen to anybody. Well, as the ambulance departs, let's put you back in the picture and get you back into the Cycle Speedway mode, as it were. That's 7-2. The result stood, by the way, as it was near the end of the race that Scott fell, and that 7-2 means that Poole might extend their lead. 69 points to Poole. Yeah.